Hi everybody, my name is Courtney Chan. I'm really grateful to be showing here today, and I want to give a big thanks to Katie and to DCA for allowing me to show here. This place is really beautiful, and I hope everybody who got a chance to see my work enjoyed it. So this is my installation. It's called Expanded Bouquet. For the process, it's mostly photo plate lithography, paper cutting, and these are handmade paper elements. So if you don't know that much about photo plate lithography, basically you would have an aluminum plate coated with a light-sensitive emulsion on one side, and then I have my films that are exposed on the plate. They're transparent, and this is called True Grain. I drew on these using Stabilo pencil. It's a dark black pencil that allows me to mimic qualities of graphite drawing. And these objects are drawn at actual size, and these are all objects that I own. I have some here. Some of my films. So the dark parts where the drawings are block out the plate from being exposed to the light, and all the places that are exposed to light will wash off so that the ink will only stick to the places where the drawing was. It looks kind of like screen printing when you first see the pieces on the wall, but I used lithography instead of screen printing. I think it helps keep the quality of the drawing that I couldn't really get if I used screen printing. The ink is more flat when you screen print, and this method allows me to keep the mid-tone ranges of my delicate drawings. So like I said, a lot of this paper is handmade by myself and hand dyed with the pink and green color scheme. And it's made from cotton and abaca fiber mixture. So abaca is a long and soft paper fiber. So things like these would be harder to tear than a regular shorter grain, shorter fiber kind of paper. And all these pieces were hand cut from an X-Acto knife. I don't use any kind of machine when I paper cut, and the scraps on the floor are all evidence of that. So the original installation, for the first time that I installed this, the flow kind of moved from left to right, but for this I modified it to move from right to left. It's kind of a fluid installation. I can add or remove as many pieces in it as I want. Whatever is appropriate for the location. So for the meaning behind this work, I have a statement here. I'm not going to read it, but this is a lino cut relief print from a couple years ago. And this flower bouquet motif was kind of the jumping off point for the bouquet to expand. So all these other pieces came later on, and I've taken the motif of the bouquet and kind of exploded it into other smaller elements. When I was 19, I had my first job. I was a part-time receptionist at a local flower shop in Baltimore. And it was kind of something that I had to push myself out of my comfort zone to try to do. And I was proud of myself for that. And it was something that I wouldn't really have expected myself to do. But I wanted to do it to see if it would help me become a better person. So while I was working there, I would see people send out arrangements every day when I answered the phone and took orders for all different kinds of occasions. And I thought that maybe we've heard of when people say our lives are kind of like stars in a constellation. Like things that happen to us, things that we go through, people we know, they can kind of be like stars that make up the constellation of our lives. So I thought, why not kind of make it into a flower bouquet where things in our lives are the flowers, and it's always growing. And this is also kind of inspired by an exercise that I did with my previous therapist. She's not here with us today anymore, so this is kind of personal to me, but so the exercise was that she asked me to imagine myself as a loud person, or try to imagine myself, what would I look like if I were a loud person, because I'm not. And she asked me to make a piece of art about it. So at the time I chose to do like a big painting on paper. It was maybe like 10 feet tall. I did a self-portrait of myself, my physical appearance, and I did another one where it was more abstract, colorful, but this is kind of in between that. So there's something in this that would indicate to you what I look like, or maybe where I come from, maybe. Except for the line cut, which is actually what I look like. But it's a different kind of self-portrait. Like, all of these items have an origin of where they came from. They were a gift to me, or something special that reminded me of something in my life. Like you can see the birthday candles, my 18th birthday. And then I have some jewelry that are gifts from other people. So this is more of showing what's inside of me rather than what's on the outside. And I would hope that this could maybe help you think of what objects you could use to describe yourself, or that aren't important to you, represent something important to you. Because you might look at these and they don't mean anything to you, but they might mean something to me or my past self. And some of these might not be as important anymore. Like if I were to continue to grow the bouquet, maybe I choose other items that are more representative of more current events in my life. And not everything that I've made is shown here. There are some items that are not displayed on the wall. So the last thing that I want to mention is that there's a book by an author named Susan Cain. It's called Quiet, and it was recommended to me as someone who's a shy introvert, or for somebody who's introverted, it's a must-read, I've heard, and it's really good. So there's one part where she mentions that we can imagine a graph with an x and y axis. So on the horizontal x-axis, you can have introvert to extrovert, and on the vertical y-axis, you have the scale of anxious to stable. So everybody falls somewhere on this scale. Maybe you're more of a shy introvert or an anxious introvert like me. Shy and anxious are not necessarily the same thing, but you can be both. So in our society, in America, we seem to value more people who portray more extroverted qualities. They like to be loud and talk a lot, and we think of them as displaying more leadership skills, but that's not necessarily always true, that if you're loud, you'd be a good leader. And it can make people like me, who are kind of shy and quiet, it can make you feel kind of bad about yourself. But, you know, we all have experiences that shape who we are and that make us important people, even though you may be unassuming on the outside. So maybe your collection of personal objects that represent things that happen in your life can help you to value yourself and love yourself, because loving yourself is a lifelong journey as your bouquet is always growing.